In the previous video, we created our curve. In this video, we're going to go into our mesh, or turning your curve into a proper mesh and attaching it on the mug. So if you want to convert this to a geometry, how do we go about doing that? Firstly, I'll advise you to do something real quick for me. Come all the way to the last icon on your outliner. It's called the new collection icon, and press the new collection. After you've created your icon, hover over the name, double click on the name it trash, and come to the second icon on your outliner. It's called the filter icon, or it's called the filter. So now what's these are? They're just basically this icon. For instance, if I disable this icon, it means that when I render my model, it will not come up in my render, right? So if I come here and I disable this, you can see that it's still in our viewport, but once we go to the render and try to render our model, it will be disabled from our render. You can see disable in renders. And if you come to this icon, this will hide our model in viewport. So let's say I want to just work on this curve, I can come to this model and disable it, and you can see that this is the only thing we'll have in our in our viewport. So that's basically what it is. Now for our trash, we want to we don't even need to name it trash. Let's rename it to backup for ease, for convenience. Let's rename it to backup. We want to have a backup of our non-destructive model, if I should put it that way, because we're going to convert this to a mesh, meaning that we're going to lose all this freedom to make this adjustment. And ideally, you'd want to have a backup of your original mesh if you're making permanent changes, so that you can always revert back to it if you make a mistake. So basically a backup. Now in this our backup, we want to tell Blender that, okay, don't render this, don't show this in viewport 1, and then don't render it, because this is just our backup. Select your curve, Shift D will duplicate your model, right click will clear any transform we have, and it's going to just snap back to its original point of duplication. Now once you've selected, you can see we have two models now. So once you've selected one of your curves, just press M, and then M is a shortcut to move objects through collections. So once you just press N, you see that's moved to collection. Now I want to move it to backup, and you can see that it's been moved to backup. You can either do it that way, or you can simply come all the way here and then drag it to your backup, whatever way makes you comfortable, but this is the fastest approach. So now we have a backup of our main model. We can go ahead and convert this to a mesh. So now we want to convert this to a mesh, so that we can properly attach this handle to our cup. So just before we convert this into an actual mesh, you can see that our model the handle is going through our cup, and we do not want that, because that is not realistic. What we can do is we can just keep adjusting this handle and control points until we are satisfied. So that is the entire idea of modeling. You continue fine-tuning your model until you're satisfied. It's absolutely impossible to get what you want just by the first try. You have to keep trying, keep iterating until you get something perfect. So you can see what I'm doing is I am rotating, I am moving, and I am adjusting my curve until it sits perfectly with my mug. As you can see, there's still some gap there, so we just keep editing it until we make sure that there is no gap whatsoever, because yeah, that is the entire idea of modeling. You keep iterating and until you're satisfied. Maybe we should take this a little bit up and drag this a little bit down, and maybe I can just put this a little bit up, and it's protruding now, so just up until it does not. Yeah, basically that's it. It's still protruding a little bit more, and you just need to make sure it's not. So know that you're always going to have to make iterations. You're always going to. So now we want to convert this to a mesh. So how we can go about doing that is right click on our curve here, right click on our curve, convert mesh. So you can see now our curve is now an actual mesh. If I just come here and so how you can rename an object is hovering over the name, double left click on the name, and then you can rename it to whatever you want to. So I'm just going to call it handle, right? And now we have our handle as a proper mesh. If I go to edit mode, you see that it is an actual geometry as opposed to a curve. If you haven't noticed, on every geometry you have this these orange dots at the center, or mostly at the center of your geometry. Now this orange point is basically your origin point of the model. For instance, if I rotate this object, it's going to rotate in relations to this orange point. But for instance, if I have my orange points, if you can remember how we can move our cursor, let's just move our cursor to here. So it's shift and right click, you move your cursor, or you can just come to the cursor selection here, and then you can just click anywhere and move your cursor. But for a shortcut, you shift and then you right click anywhere, and you can change your cursor location. So now if I change my cursor location and I want to tell Blender, hey Blender, I want my origin points of this cup to be here, all I need to do is right click and set origin to 3D cursor. So now our origin of our model is here. What does it mean? So what it means is all our scale and rotation will start from here, or we originate from here, as opposed to the center of this geometry. If you see, if I rotate, I'm rotating my model with an offset. It's all the way, it's rotating from this point as opposed to rotating from the center. So it's not really a good thing, only if you actually want an offset. For instance, if you have a door and you want to rotate that door from maybe from the hinges, so you can just put your origin points at the edge of the door, so that when you're rotating it, it's actually opening and closing properly. But for most models, you want your origin points at the center of your model. So let's quickly pull back our let's do Shift S, and then let's make our cursor go back to the world origin. So once you've put your cursor back at the world origin, you want to right click on your model. You want to make sure your model is selected. So left click on your model, right click on your model, and then you say set origin to center of mass. So what this is going to do is going to calculate, or is going to approximate, where is the center of your object. It's going to move the origin back to the center of your geometry. So just right click, set origin to mass, and you can see that our origin is back at the center of our cup. So now the reason why we did all of that is because the origin of our handle is all the way here. So what we need to do is we need to bring the origin back here. Now what you can do is it's the same process. Right click on make sure your handle is highlighted, right click on your mesh, set the origin to center of mass, and you can see that our origin is at the center of our mesh, of our handle. So if I Ctrl Z and you see I'm rotating this, you can see that there's an offset to it, and we do not need that here because it's going to be very annoying working with this. So once we place our origin at the center of our mass, you can see how easily it is to navigate or move our object to whatever direction we want. So let me just rotate this a little bit just so that it's a little bit better. Just aligning it and making sure that it's perfect to our model here. So happy with your mug body and your handle. We're going to go ahead to attach this mug handle to the body, and that is really simple. Remember that we made a duplicate or a duplicate or a backup of our handle, so we can do that too for our model, because joining our mug handle to the body is a destructive process, is a permanent process. So it's better to just have a backup of that. I'm just going to go ahead and use this time to rename our models. So I'm just going to go to this and name this to cup. Now to rename your object, you just hover over the name and left click twice. That's double left click on your object and rename it. So now we have our handle and we have our cup. We're going to do the same thing we did for our handle. Shift click and duplicate, and then right click. It's going to remove all the transformation we just did. And as you can see, we have our model. Now what the right click does is it just cancels the movement and returns the object to the original position. It's just useful for quickly resetting any accidental movement or adjustment. So we can just right click and it goes back to its original position. So now we have duplicate of that. We can now hit M, and then we can move it to backup, and it has been moved to backup. So whenever we want to return back to this original model, we can just come to our backup and you see that it's there. Let me just rename this to handle, and go ahead and close it. So now it's a simple process to join these two models together. So you just want to select your handle, shift select your mug, Ctrl J, and you've joined your models together. So now you can see that they are the same thing. So finally, you can see that we have our complete mug. It's not perfect yet. In the next video, we're going to be polishing it and making it to the perfect model, so you can have something to show to your family and friends. So we've come to the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. You finally have a complete mug from the handle to the body. In the next video, we'll be going over how to polish your model, mostly using the subdivision modifier to make everything look more presentable so that you can show it to your family and friends. See you in class.